are, which probably means we are live right now.
Whoa, we're live!
We're live! I'm going to pretend we're live. And
it says live on my end, so let's take it.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, I'm getting a yes from, okay, perfect. We are freaking live. Okay, here we are live with the Amanda Bond, who in my eyes is the best Facebook strategist in the world. Even though I haven't directly worked with you, I just still love everything that you're about and all that you do. But why don't you share in a few words who you help and what you do so people get a better understanding rather than you're just the best.
I love it. Actually, so I'm going to throw you a curveball and say, we just blew shit up over here. And so it's changing all in the background. So, I mean, what we're focusing on is still the same, but how we're going to focus on it is massively changing. So I'll just keep it short and simple. I'm Bond. I am owner of The Ad Strategist, and we help business owners stop guessing with their Facebook ads and start getting results by focusing on the right things. So big changes coming up. We're no longer doing ads management, but we're going to get heavier into the education and consulting realm because that's where we're going to make a massive impact and help people scale their offerings to get out there in a bigger way.
I love it. And so as I was just sharing with you before, what I love about this series is it shows people that there's no one way to do anything inside of your business, and you really can create the business model that you feel most aligned with. So I'd love to hear, like, let's just start there.
Cool.
What were you doing before and why did you blow it up? What wasn't working for you anymore and where are you going?
Love it. Okay. So before, what I was doing, and essentially once the ad strategist came to life, this is what I've been doing since the start. So I was offering ads management services, meaning I had a roster of clients and we had a great client list and like a wait list out the wazoo of influencers wanting to work with us. Cause like we just got this shit, right? So for the past, I think we've been in business for 20 or 21 months now. That was our one core offer that we had. And on the outside, I mean, it looks fucking like the best business model ever because you have, you know, big names coming to you, trying to seek you out. You have a wait list for days. Your revenue shoots to $250,000 seemingly overnight. And you're like, damn, I finally made it. But like what was actually happening in the background was like, I was waking up having panic attacks. I was waking up some mornings and like the notifications would go off on my phone and I would be like in tears because I was like, I built the wrong business for my own skill set. Like I said yes because the opportunities kept coming, but it wasn't what I really needed or what I really wanted or how I would be able to serve at the highest capacity. So it's like I built myself a job and then I started to hate the job that I had built. So
yes, I'm going to stop you right there for 1 second. But I love that because I feel like this is something that so many of us were like, fuck the 9 to 5, like I'm getting out of it, freedom, like amazing. And then like we're grinding away, like working 12 plus hours a day, like even more.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there like myself and like you wake up one day and you're like, shit, like what have I done? Like this is not like the idea that I wanted to create. And so back to you. So you were feeling that way and then what happened?
Like, and I mean, let's just talk about that moment for a bit. Cause I feel like a lot of people are probably either feeling that or like they're afraid to admit that that's actually something that's starting to seed within them. So first off, like I want to give anyone who's watching permission to acknowledge this shit because it's important. It's that same feeling. You remember, like, did you ever have a corporate background?
Like for a hot second, I was the worst 9 to 5 employee ever.
Same. But like, you know, when you were working corporate, and anyone who's watching, like give some emoji, tap love if this was you. Like when you were working corporate and there was that like longing in your soul to do something more, to do something different, right? Like, you know, that unalignment feeling. Well, just because you become an entrepreneur and you build a business doesn't mean that goes away if you've built the wrong business. Okay. So like, I want to acknowledge that like intuition feeling that our like gut tells us about, because along the way, as I look back, the signs were like, they were there. They were like freaking prevalent that I don't want to say I should have been able to see it, but like once I slowed down, they started to get a little bit more clear. So like, it took time going inwards to say like, what the fuck does Bond actually want as a business owner? Like, and instead of what are all these people who are trying to throw money at me want? And that was probably knowing where I came from, struggling like paycheck to paycheck and like really not having a freaking clue how I'd make it in this business, to people like, they couldn't pay me fast enough to do what I was doing. And I just had to be like, yo, you got to slow down, because I'm compromising myself. I'm compromising my own alignment along the way. And I just couldn't do that, to the point where like one day I got so clear, like I just sat and journaled like a mofo for months. And
sounds like mine. Yes, exactly.
Right? Like we got to do the woo stuff. We got to do the mindset work behind the scenes. So it was just like, I'm super strategic. I'm super data driven. Like as an entrepreneur, like math was my favorite subject in class, but it was always the mindset work that really helped me to see these things. And then one day I just gave myself permission. Like I figured out how to build a $250,000 business in 20 months. I'm going to pivot and it will be okay. And I'll figure it out later. So.
Yes. Oh my God. And I think what's so tricky, and it's like the most like dangerous situation, is when you actually are seeing success and like people are throwing their money at you and you're like, it's working. Like, me, like, why am I giving up like a good thing or something that's like working, but it's not really working if it's not what you desired. If you're waking up like panic attacks and like crying because of like the notifications on your phone, it's not working.
No.
And so I think it's like getting really fucking honest with yourself and being like you said, like, what do I really want? Like, even though these other people are paying me for this stuff, is this what I can see myself doing for like the next like year, 5 years? Like, probably not. So
And we have the tendency to like, oh, it's, you know, there's, because a lot of people get hard on us for like, keep going, you're almost there, you're almost through the shit, right? And there is a time for like hard work and foundational building in your business. And then there's a time where you are starting to see success and you are unmotivated, you are uninspired, you are getting like opportunities thrown in front of you and you're like apathetic to them. And that is really the signs that you need to be able to listen to, because that's your fucking self internally saying, hey, pay attention because there is something wrong here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you like finally realize, okay, this is not exactly what I want to be doing, did you know immediately like, okay, I know what I want? Or what was the process of you identifying, getting more clarity around this? And then how did you finally take action in that direction?
I love that question because it was terrifying. And like, I just want to be honest about that. It was completely terrifying because there was so many people that were then relying on us as a partner in their business, right? So I had to have some really hard conversations with people along the way. And so I needed to know that to get to where I wanted to be, I had to step into the person that was going to be able to get through those types of conversations and flourish. Right? So like, I don't want to paint like rainbows and unicorns and say like a pivot was the easiest thing.
So good.
It was so good. Like, honestly, what would have been easier was like sitting back and collecting checks and having my team run the accounts and pretending that it was okay. That would have been way easier.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like we had our best month in business, the month that I closed down my ads management service. And people are like, what the fuck? Like, what? I don't get it. So just be prepared that as you start to make those pivots, you're going to have to step into the uncomfortable along the way. And like magic happens in that zone. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And it's so scary. Like it's so uncomfortable and it can be totally dark and confusing and all this stuff. But I was actually sharing this someone the other day, like I'm kind of like sick and twisted in the sense that when I'm feeling confused or like down, I'm kind of like, ooh, I'm excited because I know that there's like something amazing on the other end from like all these times that I've pivoted inside my business. So I kind of like look forward to those moments, as like weird as that is.
Oh my gosh.
It's like not fun in the moment, but I'm like, I know that there's something inside.
I like that reframe though, because that reframe just like, I truly believe like we're co-conspirators with the universe, like creating what our reality is. And so when you reframe it that way and be like, oh, the up level is here, right? And oh, the tension is showing me the like the difference between where I want to be and where I am. So when you flip it on that script, I really like that point of view. That's really right.
Yeah, and I mean, but like, not to say, like, literally a couple months ago, I was like bawling in tears, like for hours one day, and like, it sucks. So not to be like, oh no, it's still so fun. It's like not so fun, but I could still know that, okay, I felt this feeling before. I've been here before. It's okay. There's something else. But I think you have to maybe experience it a time or two or 3 or 4 or 5 to maybe get to that point. I've had a lot of burnout, breakdowns, but that's what's led me to the breakthroughs ultimately.
Yeah, I love that. Breakdowns to breakthroughs. If that's not a program somewhere, that needs to be.
Someone take it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's so true. And so, okay. As you started to get this clarity, like, did you realize, okay, this is what I really didn't like in this past business that I was running, and this is now like what I want? Or how did you start to really get clear on this?
Great question. And the answer is it's been a slow process to uncover that. So I only knew what I knew from running the agency, and I only knew what I knew from launching one program in the past in a partnership called Addicted. That's all I knew from like my experience, right? And this comes from a girl who I don't even have an active website. Like I have a 1-page lander and built my business to what it was. So like completely, I don't have sales funnels. I don't have like email lists. I don't like email my list at all. So it was that's what I knew. And so I had to sit back and say, okay, from my experience, what are the things that I did like, that I didn't like, that I do want to have in my new direction, that I definitely don't want to have? And then I just had to decide to keep moving forward. Yeah. And in the month of moving forward, I ended up putting together a small group of beta where we were testing some of the frameworks that had come from that ads agency side to really nail down what we were going to teach on the education and consultancy side. Well, that month was another cluster in the journey. It truly was. And I love every single one of the beta people that are here, like in my program with me, because they've given me so much insight. But what happened was I thought that I had to do a beta in one particular way. And that was model the other people out there doing it. And I realized that that did not set me up for success. And so the first month of the entire experience, like, was a wash. Like if I didn't take full accountability for like who I am and how it taught me, like I would be ashamed. But like now knowing what it has taught me in terms of getting clear on like how I do want to offer experience, how I don't want to deliver content, and like how I best show up, the next iteration of that is going to get even better. And so like, no matter what level you're at, no matter how visible you are, no matter like what podcast you've been on or who you've blogged for, like all these ego type of things, no matter what, as you pivot to something new, your mindset, if it's not growing along with you, is going to block you. And it's going to be like, pump the fucking brakes. Like, let's talk about this.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I want to go back to some things you said, but the mindset piece is so important. Like as I've grown inside my business and as I'm a part of these higher level masterminds, we're talking about strategy for like 0.2 seconds.
A hot second, for sure.
And the rest of it is like all mindset, like all up leveling, like really stepping into that like $1 million business or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so funny because I think we put so much emphasis on strategy and structure, and yes, it's great and I geek out on that stuff, but we don't give credit to like the mindset piece of it so often. And like really there's only a certain amount of strategy that you can actually implement before you go crazy and then you're just like all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like in the doingness instead of like the beingness of a business.
Oh, that was like a huge topic. Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So thank you for that point. And going back to what you were saying, so what were some of the things that you were like, nah, I'm not doing this anymore, and that you're like, I really want this instead? Can you get a little more detailed into what was going on?
Hells yeah. So the biggest one was realizing like I am not a person who thrives putting out like unfinished content, meaning putting somebody through a beta experience where it's not mapped out from start to finish. Innately, I'm a salesperson. That's my corporate background. Like I went to school for marketing, like sales is my jam. And so that comes easy. But what doesn't come easy is having an unstructured program to put people through afterwards. So I've made a commitment that if I ever launch something again, it's going to be launched in complete format. And I am willing to take the risk of building it and not selling it. There are like a few things that I'm obviously doing to like confirm and validate. And before our next product hits the market, we'll have about $60,000 in sales under our belt of like people going through the process in different ways.
Right.
But I will never launch an unfinished product to the public again, because that doesn't support me. That doesn't support in how I can show up and help people answer questions. So never again will I pre-sell shit and then I'll build it later. I tried it twice. It didn't work. So like, fuck it.
So did you try that because other people said like the rules like are that you have to do it this way? Or
yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, I shut my ad agency down. I could like I have time next month to put people through this process. Well, I didn't give myself time to digest all of these frameworks and all of this structure that I had created. So it was coming like hot off the heels of client work, not having time to like process, and then being thrown into a new experience where I was like the go-to, not just for clients now where I could go do the work, but helping people in that knowledge transfer and getting them up and rocking. So it was like, boom, like crazy fast from one to the other. And I just didn't give myself like the proper time to make that transition. So like I said, again.
Well, I love that because like for me personally, I know myself, and if I were to build it all out like that, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I need to go with the flow and like, yeah, no, it just wouldn't work for me. It totally wouldn't work for me, which is awesome.
So we're complete opposites.
Yeah.
Love it.
Opposites. And like, just for everybody watching, like if you identify with bonds, like give some hearts. If you identify with me, give me a thumbs up. But I think you can see that. Or if you're somewhere in between, then give another face or comment.
Can I give like hearts to my own self? Boom,
Yeah,
giving all the hearts.
Go for it. But like, it's so true. There's no one way to do this, but you have to know yourself and what's going to work best for you. So that's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was the biggest.
And you heard her commitment. So if you see her doing it any other way, scold her.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to happen. So like I made that commitment to myself. So I got you guys. Don't worry.
I love it. Perfect. So moving forwards, tell us a little bit more about like where you see your business going now.
I love it. So now I'm going to be stepping back into the education realm. So one of the reasons that we were so in demand before was the fact that like we have this really awesome way to view Facebook ads from like an analytical standpoint, but also a creative standpoint, right? So it was that like perfect combo of left and right brain.
Yeah.
But also from like a bigger business vision, because so many people like go in and they're like, I want to do this one sliver where I learn about lead generation. And I'm like, yeah, but then what the fuck happens after you get those leads, right?
Yes.
Or like, I just want to get my video views out there to more people so that they find out about me. I was like, yeah.
Like, why?
And then what, right? So we're bringing our framework. And so it's called the 3C framework: connect, convert, close, from branding to closing the sale and beyond. And we're putting that framework into a product where you guys can start to implement in your own business. But the beauty is like so many people try and overcomplicate the ads journey. We're making it so at the end of the program, you have a single sheet of paper and you're able to say, this is my ad strategy. This is exactly how it's going down. Let's make this easy, but let's make it like an entire picture and not just like this tiny little sliver that's not profitable. So yeah, my team's behind the scenes, like bringing that to life right now. Thank God my beta people gave me all the feedback, even though it was coming to life like a clusterfuck at the time. And so that's going to be like my biggest baby essentially birthed into the world. And just as a result of all the ads and impressions that we've created. So fall is likely the launch date for it. I'm super pumped up.
That's amazing. So who is this for mostly? Like if you had to really narrow in on who would be best served inside of this program, who would it be?
So obviously business owners that have sales processes in place. And I don't want to say funnels because I think funnels is sometimes bastardized. And for me, for example, in my service-based business, I had a sales process. I didn't have like email sequences and landing pages and like automation, but I still had a way to turn like attention into customers. So you need that sales process. And then it's the type of person that has tried other programs and they're like, why isn't this working? Right? Yeah. But the thing is, it's not you. The programs were designed to make you fail in the first place. The programs only taught you this tiny little sliver. So it's anyone that's like, Facebook ads don't work for me, but they're at the point where they're like hitting that glass ceiling of scaling on their own. And they need to get out there and really figure out a system and a structure and an overall strategy to bust through that next level. And we just talking about like how to get 10,000 leads in the next 30 days. Like, that's awesome. How many are we going to convert to customers?
Totally. And so when you're talking about people who have taken these other programs and just learned like that sliver, like what have you seen people like trying and not working? And how is this program, you kind of talked a little bit about this, but going to like really change the game for people?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest mistake I see people doing is like spending without a plan, right? Like I always say there's two ways that we pay for attention, right? In this space. We pay either with our time by doing like organic shit, Facebook lives, blog posting, podcasting, posting on social media, stuff like that, or we pay with our money. And so that's paid traffic and, you know, hiring people to do SEO and stuff for us in that regards. So essentially what's happening is people are focusing on the tactics that we should be understanding first by paying with our time. Like, hey, does your funnel actually fucking convert? That is a really big question to know.
Yes.
But not a lot of people talk about that beforehand. They just want to, like, they just want you to buy their product. And so one of the first like modules in our program, we like call people out on this and like encourage them to fucking stop, slow it down. Don't spend a cent until you figure out who converts.
I love that. It's so
right?
important. Yes.
Let's stop throwing $1,000 over and like kicking it back to Facebook. Like, let's put that in our pocket. Let's do it right. Let's build a strong and sustainable business, right? Because we're not just like hobbyists over here. We are business owners. And because of the barriers to entry in this industry, it's so easy to get started that not a lot of people have that foundational knowledge. So in our program, we're just taking them back to that like foundational shit that's important, and then layering ad strategy on top of it. Because once you have that, and then ads are like the fuel on the fire, that's where you're going to be successful. But like, I'm not going to teach you how to generate 10,000 leads if you don't have a way to convert them in a sales process. So like, we are so adamant that like, if your numbers aren't showing favorably, we'll show you how to fix that, but you ain't spending a cent before that. And if you do, you're blacklisted.
Yeah, no, and that's perfect because this like drives me crazy too. I feel like so many people, myself included, did this, like skip the foundational pieces because I was like, fuck that. Like I'm advanced. Like I want to skyrocket my success. And so I was like, I don't need that. Yeah. And I jumped ahead and then I came crashing down because I didn't have that solid foundation to build my business on top of. And it's just like, it's so silly how people are just like, no, I'm too good for that. Like I'm just going to go like advanced right now. It's like, no, you need to like.
Can we talk about that crash though? Because I really feel like it happens more often than we realize in this industry. And I've been victim of it. You just admitted that you've been victim of it. It's this really high rise. And then like, it almost feels meteoric because it's happening so fast. You're starting to get that momentum, right? Like on social, that shit builds really fast. But what happens is a lot of us experience it. We have that rise of success. And then we come crashing down the other side of it because we're not prepared for what happens next.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I mean, like, that's like my whole like story and how can I like completely changed my business because I hit 6 figures in 6 months and was like, oh my God, like when I hit 6 figures, it's the best thing ever. It was like the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
And completely came crashing down just because like I was growing way too quickly. I couldn't handle it. I was overwhelmed, like exhausted. I wasn't even having fun anymore. And I was like, what the fuck am I even doing? Like I launched this program and I didn't even want to teach it. And I was like, yes. It was terrible.
Oh my God. Like anyone who's watching, like, can we just get some like emoji tap love on the screen? If you felt that, you've started to build something, and you've started to build something because it was your area of expertise at the time. But what happens is you built it either too fast, or you were going more on trends, or like it was just, you know, you were, let's admit it, chasing the money at some point. Like, and then you build it and you resent it. Like, let's give some emoji tap love if you know those feels, because they are so real, and it's so easy with like all the pressure in this space to like keep going, income reports, like we're doing XYZ. We've got like, but I feel like there's not a lot of talk about the actual time that people have been running businesses for, right? Like the people that you're seeing successful at the top of their games have been in this industry for a decade, sometimes more. And then like us newbie beginners, I've been an entrepreneur myself for over a decade, just in different verticals. But like getting in this game, I've been an entrepreneur in the digital marketing scene for about 4 years now, 20 of those months with the ad strategist. Everything before the ad strategist failed miserably. Let's like not lie about that. If you were a betting man, you would have not bet on this business being the one to parlay me into success. And then, you know, going back to what we talked about at the start of this is like, I still built the wrong business and I'm still human. So I'm learning from that experience and pivoting along the way.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been an entrepreneur since I was like 20 years old, so like 8 years. And everything else prior to this flopped so badly. Like people made so much fun of me, like, oh, there's Lex, there she goes again, like with another adventure, like good luck being successful. And just like it was a joke. I was a joke. And
I totally get it, girl.
But that's why I was also so excited about like hitting success. I was like, fuck all of you, like look at me, honestly. And I was like, I'm successful. But then it just didn't
You're
work.
like crumbling behind the scenes. Like
I'm totally crumbling.
I'm so glad that I have this prop here. It's not on purpose. It's an empty wine bottle, but like behind the scenes, you're like chugging it, like trying to like stay afloat. And you're like, oh my God.
I just think it's so bad. Like part of the series too is just to like get real. I think in the industry, it's like so much about the highlight reel, and that's great and all, but I felt like every month I had to like double my income, or else like I wasn't like a good entrepreneur. And so I kept doing it, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm awesome. And then I was like, oh my God, if I keep doing this and pushing the way I'm like making this money, it's not going to work. And so then it didn't work. And then for months, like I was like making like nothing.
Yeah.
Like it kind of plummeted, and I was just like, sweet, real successful. But it's like, okay too. Like there are these ups and these downs. And I always say like business is a living, breathing organism. It's not like this like robot thing.
No.
And there are phases and there are cycles, and no matter where you are in the stage of your business, it's always going to be those ups and downs, and we're in this for the long term, not the short term.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it just drives me crazy.
I think that long-term vision is something that not enough people talk about. We all hear the launch success and how to generate leads and how to do all these like micro snippets of what actually makes long-term success.
Yeah.
And we forget about the bigger picture. And so I think what a smart entrepreneur coming into this space can really focus on is not just as their business, right? Like don't just focus on themselves as business owners, because you're not your business at the end of the day. It's a vehicle to like, you know, spread a message, to create revenue, to create like commerce. That is one of the things. But I think that we should really be starting to pivot towards wealth mindset. And so taking what we do in our business and parlaying it into other areas of our lives to set us up for like life success, right? Because as entrepreneurs, we don't have those things like Freedom 55 where the government's going to freaking pay for our retirement at the end of this. We're those crazy ass people that are like, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to do it. But at the end of the day, like you're the one that is responsible for your future. So we need to not just be thinking about what the next week holds, not just be thinking about what the next 3 months hold, but like, what does the next 5 years look like? What does the next 10 years look like? And what is my legacy going to be at the end of the day? And stop like niching down so hard into these tiny little like, you know, streams of like what's running off of the ponds, because that's where like, that's what we can see conceptually. Like we really should be focusing on who we want to become as people and what it's going to look like for us to leave that legacy and be happy at the end of the day. Because you can't run a business if you're miserable. You can't run a business if you're drinking a bottle of wine a day because you built the wrong business.
It's so true though. And so how do you stay like, because this is actually something I struggle with too, is because, oh my God, I love that mug. It's great.
So one of my awesome clients just sent it through. Holly from.
It said fuck you. That's what I was like. That's awesome.
It says fuck yeah. Close though. That would be so wicked. It's like my new favorite like live mug. I'm like, oh yeah.
Fuck yeah. That's awesome. So yeah, something I was saying I struggle with personally because I get bored really easily, and I do grow quickly.
Yeah.
And so I can like set a year goal and have that vision, but then like I'm completely changing it like 3 or 6 months later.
Yeah.
So for you, how do you balance like being able to see the long-term vision, but also like taking action and being present with like where you're at? And I don't know, how do you balance like the bigger vision in the present moment?
I love that question because it's something that I'm still like practicing and learning as I go, right?
I want to hear your opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll kind of share like how I compartmentalize certain things. So like when I was building my business from 0 to like a $250,000, that was my sole focus. And that was my like laser focus of the only thing that I could think about. And I was so unfulfilled. It wasn't even funny. Like I dropped hobbies. I dropped like a lot of friendships, like, cause I was like, oh, you're not on the same trajectory as me. So like, peace out, motherfucker. Right. But at the same time, that wasn't healthy, but it's just the way that I was operating. I'm cool with that. But where I'm really starting to like anchor into the vision is less about like what type of business I want to be running at that time, but who I want to become as a human being. Mm-hmm. So like my 10-year vision is a 10-year, like who is Bond type of vision. And then what I'm doing is slowly starting to work backwards and construct the lifestyle of who that person would be. So like for me, one of the things that I'm starting to prioritize is wealth building in terms of like, I want a home here in Canada, my home country, and I want a home in Costa Rica or Colombia or like some awesome like Central or South American country. And so for me, I make sure that a portion of my income, no matter what it is, no matter the ebbs and the flows, is going towards that vision. And it's not a vision that I know is going to be like accomplished tomorrow, but it's awesome to start to see those like accounts grow, knowing that like, hey, that's my 3-year vision. And I can start like pinning shit on Pinterest that like matches it, but I don't have to take action on it today. My only action today is what percentage of my savings do I want to funnel to that? Me, I just chose like 10% of anything that I make is going into those funds. So that helps me anchor into like who I'm becoming in 10 years. And then in terms of like business, I am so like, I know without a doubt in my heart that I will write books one day. Like in my head, I also have like ideas for titles and like concepts and stuff, but I'm not going to act on those things yet other than just like journaling as I would normally do anyways. So like it's part of my daily practice. But the very first book that I will write will be an ads book based on like our current business, our current model, funneling into our current signature program, right? Like that strategy and what we're doing with the ad strategist in the next year is like crystal fucking clear. We're not focusing on anything else. It is just like, get this program out into the world, like have a team to support it and then scale it. And then all these other ideas that are like constantly flashing in my head, you know that, like, right? Like
never ends.
It never ends. Like for me, I love making bracelets. I love like doing jewelry, like beading and shit. So what I do is I just like create Pinterest boards. So whenever I'm feeling inspired, like in my head, I'm like, I have a brand, a jewelry brand. Like I have like all these other businesses that are offshoots, but I'm not taking action other than just like pinning a few things and maybe doing it for fun as a hobby. Like I went to school for fashion. So it's like I create cost sheets for my bracelets so that if I ever want to sell them, I have that in my back pocket, but I'll do it like once a week on a Saturday. I'll make like this really rad thing. And then that like gets me fulfilled creatively to move back into that 1 year vision of like, okay, boom, strategy time, let's go.
Yeah, and I love how you don't shut those things down, because I think so often we're told like, focus, stay like, you know, and like that's great. But there are these like other passions and things that we have in our life, and that actually fuels, I think, our businesses and being able to express ourselves in all of these different ways. So I think that that's incredible that you do that and allow yourself to do that. I also think that it's perfect that you are, I mean, you're not taking like crazy action, but you are taking action to make this happen.
Yeah.
So it's not just like this pipe dream of like, oh, like one day I'll have this home in Costa Rica. It's like, no, like I'm actually setting aside money now, so it does happen, like no matter what.
And it'll be easier once it comes time to transition into that. You won't be starting from zero. You're like, oh, okay. You know, 2 years ago, I anchored in on that vision, and now all of a sudden I have $56,000 in an account. Okay, well, it's going to be easier to have conversations with the bank because they're like, oh shit, you're taking this stuff seriously.
Yeah, exactly. So I want people who are listening to right now to type into the comments and let us know, like, what are your bigger dreams? Like, so looking out, like, what's a big dream that you have? And what's like one small, tiny action step you can start taking now to make it a reality? Because I also think that sometimes like our big dreams are not that far off if we like start to like break it down and get into reality around things. It's kind of funny, tangent here, but I like always, when I was journaling like a year ago, I was like, my dream day is like me walking by the ocean, like having lunch in the city with friends, like doing this, like working, like whatever. And then yesterday, like as I was like typing a post, I'm like, oh wait, this is like my dream life. Like,
oh shit, it exists.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like I'd love to have like the house on the ocean too, and there's more to that. But I've made it a commitment that like every morning, like when it's nice in the summer, I'm taking like that walk on the ocean and like that time for me. And so it's like the little things like you can actually create and do now.
Oh yeah.
To see like, oh shit, I'm actually stepping into that person that I wanted to become, which is
yeah. And another like a fun action step that you can do towards like manifesting those things is just like experience them in little snippets. Maybe, you know, maybe a house on the ocean isn't in your budget, but you could go down to, you know, Mexico. I lived there in Playa del Carmen for 7 months, like 3 blocks from the ocean. And I got that small snippet for like a minute fraction of the cost. I think like my place down there was like $500 a month, like super cheap. But it was able to like help me realize that these things are possible. So it was just like bringing it into my awareness. And that was the best action step that I could take at the time to then like, now I have the awareness like, oh, cool. I can have a winter home and I can make my business work. I can make my life work. You know, my dog can come along for the ride, that crazy bitch.
I love it. Yeah, but it's so true. I think so. Like, yes, start now and create that small action step, but also realize that it's going to happen a lot sooner than you can even give it credit for. And it can happen now too. Like sometimes I think we deny ourselves what we really desire, and it can happen now. And just like you were saying, $500 a month, like that's pretty affordable, right?
Yeah.
So I love that. That's perfect. All right. I know that we have a time limit here, so I want to wrap it up, but one last question is, I would love to hear anything that's been something that like a truth of yours or something that you've been like scared to share publicly, that you are really passionate about, but maybe it's like not a popular opinion or something that's difficult, but something that you have shared recently or you haven't even shared yet that's been on your mind that you want to tell people.
Oh, I like this. So I was 2 weeks ago at my mastermind retreat. So I'm part of like a peer mastermind.
I saw your pictures and your videos. Look so fun.
Oh shit, I think I'm wearing the same shirt as that live. Like, I like how, I don't shower, I don't change, guys. It's fine.
That's her truth. That's okay.
That is my truth. No. And one of the things that I was allowing myself to realize at that point, because it was like fresh off the transition from agency to new direction, was that at heart, I am a creative and I am an artist. And for me, self-expression is one of those values that I want to elevate in my own life. And I wasn't in doing what I was doing because my like art was not really seen by humans. Like my art, sure, like ads, I was bringing copy and creative to other people to life, but it was their expression. It was their brand. And so that was one of the things that I was starting to feel stifled with working on ads for other people, was because my personality and my self-expression and my like creativity wasn't having an outlet. And so the day that I admitted that at heart I'm an artist, I wanted to throw up. And the reason is because like I have so many preconceived notions of like what artists are. And funny enough, one of the people in my mastermind, Corey Huff of The Abundant Artist, like he triggered the fuck out of me when we first met. I told Corey this, so like I'm totally cool to say this, but like I could not figure out what it was. And it was because of the use of the words together for his branding of like allowing artists to be able to self-express, but also allowing them to have financial, like life abundance along the way. So that was one of those things that I was like, it's triggering me. I can't figure it out until like 6 months later, once I've done all the inner work to figure this out. And like, I need to self-express. I need to create. That's why I have a joke show that's actually turned into something called Breakfast Wine with Bond.
Love it.
And it's just like a way for me to fuck around on the interwebs and like get myself out there, but allowing me to be like creative along the way.
And that's perfect. And I think also too, for people, not always things trigger you because you desire it, but sometimes it's like the thing you most desire, but you're denying yourself. It'll trigger the fuck out of you because you think you don't deserve it or you're not enough or like all these things. So pay close attention in those situations when it like triggers you and there's like something weird going on there, and explore it, because and they're just showing you what's possible too. So I think that's really cool as well.
Ask for, one of the things that I did at the mastermind was just ask for ask for like proof, meaning ask friends, ask the internet for like proof of something's existence. And so like once I realized that was my trigger point, because I believe that artists couldn't be like profitable and build massive businesses and make massive impact, I asked my mastermind, I was like, can you guys please bring and show me proof that this is not true? And they did, and they came in droves, and now I'm like, oh damn, like
that's amazing. Yeah, you don't have to do it on your own. You can totally go find that proof on your own, but ask your support system and your community and your network, because they have all these connections and know all these people, and it can happen a lot faster that way. So that's
hells yeah.
Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being here. And one last thing, where can people find you if they want to learn more about your program and you? And what's it? Breakfast and Wine with Bond?
Breakfast Wine with Bond show. Yeah. You can come on over to our Facebook page. You can find that by going to fb.me/theadstrategist. And so if you come on over to my page and you like, comment, or engage with it at all, you'll be in my retargeting audience. So I'll get started sooner or later.
If you don't know what that is, then you should definitely be following her to find out more.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been such a pleasure. And I like how like you're just diving in and getting this stuff out there, because it is like, I'm so over the circle jerk of strategy that lives on.
I love you. That's what it is though, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. You heard it here. Thank you so much. You are incredible. And I'm so excited to see this program. I think it's going to be so helpful and really change the game. So everybody go check her out. And if you want to come to the after party that's going to go on right now with moi, come to the Success Alchemist Society Facebook group, and we'll be talking about a controversial or hot topic discussed in this episode. Woo! All right. Thank you so much, Amanda. You are the best.
Right back at you, girl.
Bye.